absolutely no sense to go to the Torah and to prove your religion from something that you already believe is corrupted.
Absolutely.
So if you're a Muslim, mate, come on. The word here is Muhammadin. So that's where they're getting. So it sounds very similar.
So they're going based on the sound.
They're going based on the sound and the root of the word. If it was Muhammad, it would be with the. It would be the real word you showed us.
Exactly. The Quran claims that Muhammad is mentioned in the Torah, and Isaiah and the Song of Solomon are not. I don't think you guys don't know how closely allied you are, but the videos are really nice that you put out. Yeah.
Some of the more cinematic. That's the word I'm looking for. Cinematic.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad. So what I wanted to talk to you about, and I understand that you've made it very clear that you're here to build bridges. You're not here to tear bridges down. You want to build bridges towards Muslims, and you want to work towards a peaceful relationship. So my aim in asking these questions, I will also be equally clear, is connected to the regular use, or I would say abuse, of the Hebrew scriptures by the Taurat, in which they claim that Muhammad is actually named inside the Torah, inside the Hebrew Torah, the Tanakh and the Torah. So a couple of places that they argue this is in Isaiah 42, in the very first few lines of Isaiah 42. Now I'm aware that you can read Hebrew, or
I'm not fluent, but I can.
Do you have it on your phone, like I've seen in the past? They also do it in the Song of Solomon, and I think you're probably more familiar where they do that.
Guys, let's do something because of the sound.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, so you want to grab me?
No, if we go over there.
I don't mind walking a bit if you want to go a bit further as well. Like if you want to go behind the green, if you go behind the green barriers, they'll block out the.
So that we'll go right way then. That way.
If you go over the green barriers will block out the sound of this. This has like horrible. This thing here has a horrible air con.
Here's better.
Yeah.
So, in Isaiah 42, in the first few lines, we've had a Muslim say that Muhammad is mentioned there. Now, I take it you're pulling up the Hebrew right there.
Just do it my way.
And while you're doing that, I'll look at the next one that I often hear them use. Muhammad in the Song of Solomon. Right, so it's 516.
Just see if
you found it?
I just want to check something I've written on this before, just to refresh my memory.
Okay. We'll edit this bit out. It'll make it look like it just came straight to your mind.
Straight on point.
With that.
All refreshed. So in Isaiah 42, the first few verses, Muhammad's name is meant to appear. Now that you've got the Hebrew in front of you, can you see the name Muhammad?
No, it doesn't. And what they so I'm going to pull up the Hebrew.
Yeah,
so
if we can see it in the camera.
So, go on. I'll show you first and foremost for the camera. I'll show you what Muhammad looks like in Hebrew.
Yeah.
So the viewers can see for themselves.
Here you go, guys. A lesson in Hebrew. I'd like to come and talk with you later on. Yeah, I'd like to speak to you. Sure. Is it alright if I just finish this conversation, then I'll come and find you? Oh, you're more than welcome to listen in.
Yeah.
So go on. So show us.
So it's a bit, actually, let me see if I can make that a bit.
Don't worry about the size, we can zoom in.
Okay. So what you can see here, this word here.
Yep.
Muhammad. Mem of mem. It's this is m. This says it's Muhammad.
Yeah, take your finger away.
Sorry.
That's it, yeah. Okay, right, got it.
And now if we go to the Hebrew.
Yeah, the Hebrew, this is the Hebrew of the Torah. This is the bit that the Muslim Dawah team are claiming.
So you said 42.
The first few verses of 42, where it says, "Behold my servant, my chosen, whom my soul desires. I have placed my spirit upon him. He shall promulgate justice to the nations. He shall neither cry nor outside a breaking reed." We can do a flashback. Let's do it for the first 5 verses, because I know it's within.
Okay,
that's probably too many verses.
Let me just see if I can see it anywhere in there.
Yeah. No. Can we show the camera so that people can see that the name Muhammad doesn't appear anywhere in Isaiah?
First and foremost, to see where we are, Yeshayahu, Isaiah. So that's the Hebrew name for Isaiah, chapter 42. So most say it's verse 1.
So go on. What's the word that they're claiming is Muhammad?
There is no word they're claiming is Muhammad there. There is no word there at all that looks anything remotely like the word Muhammad.
None.
I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah.
So the Dawah team are peddling misinformation about that verse.
As far as I can see.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's where he reads.
No, I haven't been involved in any of the previous conversations. I'm just saying the word Muhammad, or no word like Muhammad, appears in 42.
And we'll do a flashback. This was from a debate that I had with honest Muslims. It says Ahmed. Okay. So can you show me in the Old or the New Testament where it says Ahmed?
Well, you highlighted it before. It said, many people say Isaiah 42, verse 1.
Yeah.
Now in the Hebrew, what we say is whom I delight is the translation. Yeah? But when you actually look at the Hebrew, the word doesn't actually translate to that in English. It actually translates to ATMHMC or something like that.
I think you're mixing up the song, Song of Songs with Isaiah 42. These are 2 different passages.
No, I'm talking about Isaiah 42.
Isaiah 42 says the word Ahmed. It says the word Ahmed. Can you? Isaiah 42. No, of course I don't have it.
Well,
okay.
So in the translation it says to whom I delight.
Isaiah 42.
That's it.
Okay. Behold my servant whom I uphold.
All right. Well,
okay.
The translation I was reading says delight.
You're saying this in the Hebrew is Ahmed.
Yes.
So the next one that they claim where Muhammad appears is in the Song of Solomon 5:16.
Let me just check something, because I believe there is a word that is similar to that.
Yeah. I've heard the discussion points.
Is it not necessary to talk with a Muslim, like who knows this stuff?
Well, we're just fact checking at this moment in time, so that's all this video's about. All right. Yeah, we're just fact checking. So Muslims constantly make this argument that Muhammad, the name, appears in the Torah.
I've heard it.
I have access to a Hebrew speaker here who's got the Hebrew in front of him.
But is he that knowledgeable to answer your question?
Well, if he can read Hebrew, I'm sure he can spot the name.
No, but then we call people scholars, isn't it?
So there is no. I'll just clarify, Mo. There is no rabbi alive today that believes that Muhammad is mentioned in the Torah or in the Tanakh.
My point is not that.
Yeah.
My point is if somebody
Sorry,
has a
bro.
question about something, he should go to the authorities.
Bro,
Let's see
with
their
respect,
assumptions.
with respect.
Let's hear the assumptions.
I'm sorry.
We just want to cut to the facts.
No, they're not.
And we've got the Torah here.
Bob.
Bro, I've said that I will happily.
A Jew and a Christian talking about Islam. Come.
We'll come and speak with you. Please stop interrupting.
Well, also, so each one of these has actually come up on a page, which I recommend all the
I see what you
Muslims
mean
watching.
now. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I apologise. I thought we were far enough away that you could just talk quietly.
So it was 5:16.
So 5:16. So they again claim that Muhammad is there. So go on. Next.
So again, this is the word here. So one of the things you have to understand about the Arabic and the Hebrew languages are they are very closely related.
Yeah.
Someone who speaks Hebrew can understand a lot of words in Arabic. In the Quran, it says that someone who believes in the day of judgment, which it calls Yom al-Din.
Yeah.
In Hebrew, the same term is Yom Hadin. The only differentiation is al versus ha for the word the.
Yeah.
Similarly, you have words like tahara, pure, like sadaqah. These are all Hebrew words originally.
A bit like English and German and English and Danish. There's a lot of words that I hear in Danish that I recognise in English, and I can also get a kind of gist in German. Well, I say a kind of gist. I hear words that I recognise and understand without actually studying the language because they are so similar to the English.
And so, as an example, the name Abdullah means servant or slave, more accurately, slave of God. In Hebrew, Allah is one of the names of Hebrew, and Ebed is slaves. And so you have Ebed, depending whether you're Assyrian or not, you'll pronounce that word slightly different. But you have the same language. So you have a name that exists in Arabic, which is very similar to Hebrew. So you have to understand, before Muhammad came along and introduced Islam to the world, I believe he was already called Muhammad. Is that fair? I assume
It was called. Before what? Sorry.
So I'm asking a question. Did Muhammad become Muhammad when he became Islam?
No.
Muslim,
He was known Muhammad when he was a pagan. He was called Muhammad.
That's my understanding.
Yeah,
so
that's
the
my
name
understanding as
predates Islam to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know what the root of that in Hebrew we call it a shoresh, or each word has a root, and from that root you have consonants. So can I, my friend,
Stop being rude,
please.
Stop being rude.
From those consonants, many other words will be formed. So shalom, which means peace, shalem means complete, and so you'll have words which interrelate. And so the shoresh, the root of Muhammad in Arabic and Hebrew, I assume it's the same, will have multiple meanings. And in Hebrew, and I'll show you here in the text, the word here is Muhammadim. So and that's where they're getting. So it sounds very similar.
So they're going based on the sound.
They're going based on the sound and
Rather
the root
than
of the
the
word. If it was Muhammad, it would be with the. It
would be the real word you showed us.
Exactly. It would. To see, I'm going to show you the two words again. They're slightly different words.
Yeah.
But they share the same the shoresh.
Yeah.
And Muhammad's name will have come from the root of this word. Now in Hebrew it means lovely or desirable.
Yeah.
In Arabic, before Muhammad was called Muhammad, it will have had a meaning. That word, because most names have meaning.
Absolutely, like my own name, my own real name, which I nearly just said.
I mean, you've already got this, but as you can see, it's spelt completely different here.
Yeah.
There's a vav here, so
take your finger away, so we can. Yeah.
Muhammad rather than Muhammadim.
Right.
And so, if the Torah was coming to prophesy, or the Tanakh was coming to prophesy about Muhammad, you would assume it would be very direct and it would actually name the name, rather than alluding to the verse, which ran in context makes no sense. And actually, if it's a verse which is praising God, which many people will read it that way, by ascribing Muhammad to that name, you're actually partnering Muhammad with God and saying they're interchangeable, which for a Muslim is very problematic because you're not allowed to make partners with Allah.
Absolutely, and the as I understand it, because the false friends exist in other kind of languages. I'm trying to think in terms of a false friend, because I know Spanish and English. and I am literally now just trying to find a false friend. Two words that sound the same but are used completely differently in the two different languages. And the only one that jumps to mind, so it's quite a poor example, I will accept, but it illustrates the point that I think the brother is trying to make, is the word amiga. In Spanish, amiga means my girlfriend or a girl that is a friend. Yeah? Whereas amiga in English is a proper noun to an actual computer called the Amiga. These words sound identical, but in English it's a proper noun, and in Spanish it's not a proper noun, it is a adjective. It is an adjective. So is that what you're describing here? That these words sound the same, but really are different?
Yeah, absolutely. So similarly, if you'll find names in Hebrew which will relate to other gods in pagan society. It doesn't mean that those pagan gods are found in the Torah. It's the commonality and the similarity of language. And Hebrew and Arabic are very, very similar.
Is there a Hebrew word that means mouse or to destroy or something that's very similar to akbar in Arabic?
So that's yes.
What's the Hebrew word?
So mouse, I believe, is akbar.
Akbar.
I just want to check that though, because my
please
Hebrew
check it. If it's all right, we'll fact check him while he's studying, because I never know when I'll get to speak to this guy again. So, while he's doing that, go on.
So here's the word,
and it says akbar.
Yeah. So
zoom in. No, he needs to zoom in. He needs to zoom in. Yeah, just hold it. We'll zoom in.
This one here.
Yeah. Akbar, and it's pronounced akbar.
Yep.
Right.
Akbar.
So every time, if we use the phonetic false friend logic of the Dawah team, every time, and therefore every time we hear something that sounds like Muhammad, it must be Muhammad. Then every time we hear the word akbar, we must assume it means mouse. Now, obviously, this is nonsense. This is not the point the brother's trying to make, because I'm sure as a linguist he appreciates the differences in languages. I'm someone who knows multiple languages, and I wouldn't make that point either, because I understand what a false friend is. Just because two words sound the same doesn't mean they are the same. So in the same way that Muslims aren't crying out, Allah is a mouse, they aren't crying that, they're shouting that Allah is great. Yeah? In the same way, just because something sounds like Muhammad doesn't mean that it's Muhammad.
I'd actually
If
go
anything
one
you want to
further.
add
Yeah,
to
the
that,
thing
or?
I would, if you believe that the Torah is tarif, is corrupted as a Muslim, it makes absolutely no sense to go to the Torah and to prove your religion from something that you already believe is corrupted.
Absolutely.
So if you're a Muslim, mate,
just
come
give
on.
me Don't invite me. Keep going, bro.
Bob
Keep
believes
going.
another.
Don't invite him in. I'm going to go and talk to this heckler soon. I'll go. He'll have his day in court. You continue.
So my point is, if you're a Muslim and you believe the Torah hasn't been corrupted, then Mazel Tov. Verify and validate your own religion all you like from my religion. I'm happy with that. If you believe my religion hasn't been corrupted and you want to say, look, my book talks about Abraham and your book talks about Abraham, isn't that great? Fantastic. If you think my book has been contaminated and corrupted, why on earth would you use it to try and validate and verify your own religion?
Yeah.
And this is one of the things I really don't get. And what it becomes selective. Then you start saying, well, the bits that validate my religion, they're kosher, they're halal.
Yeah.
But the bits that don't validate my religion, like which of the sons was sacrificed, well, then that's corrupted.
Yeah.
It's like, who are
It's
you
a
to decide?
subjective
Exactly.
reasoning, isn't it?
And
It's like it's self-validating reasoning that isn't objective. Because they launched the same criticism against Christians, and the reality is that there's absolutely no evidence at all. None has been provided of an Islamic Injil. No evidence. It's just a claim in the Quran, unsubstantiated. It's floating around in the Ephira with nothing to concrete to history. And same with their accusations of the Torah. There's absolutely no evidence of a Islamic Torah. It's a claim that he's made. It hangs there in the Ephira, and there's zero evidence to link it to history.
And if you go further than
But am I right in understanding that Isaiah and the Song of Solomon are not properly the Torah?
So yeah, you have basically the prophets and the 5 books of Moses.
Right, yeah. So which one's the
collectively, all of them are often referred to as Torah, but technically...
I have a question.
One second.
Why don't you ask him what he believes about Jesus?
1 second.
We can do that, but he probably knows my belief in
He
Jesus.
even denies Jesus.
Within technically,
logic, isn't
the
it, for
Torah is the 5 books of Moses.
Yeah.
Anything that came later is collectively called the Tanakh, but it's the prophets and the writings.
Right. So the Quran claims that Muhammad is mentioned in the Torah, and Isaiah and the Song of Solomon's are not even the Torah. This is kind of baffling logic, I find. So thank you so much for clarifying those points. As far as I'm concerned, if there's anything more you want to add, I'll let you say, and then if you want to move on to another topic, I'd like to.
One final thing which I would like to say to the Muslims. So when you are judging negatively either the Torah, for my book, or the Injil, the Gospels for my Christian friends, look at Muhammad's own behaviour. Now, I may be mistaken, but I believe that Muhammad told the Jewish community to be judged from the Torah, because this is a book from Allah.
That's what I've read in the Quran.
Yeah, and so I've read that. So if Muhammad recognised something as coming from Allah, then who are you to say it's being corrupted? And even amongst Muslim commentators, the understanding of what corrupted means is there's either a literal corruption, either the words themselves will change, or there's a intellectual corruption where
the commentary on the verses.
Yeah, so how Jews behave, and so Jews today, most of them rebel against the Torah. Most Jews are not observant of the law, and many Jews reject what we believe we're bound to, which is the oral law. And so Orthodox Jews today will say that there are Jews alive that corrupt the meaning of the words. So if Muhammad says that, that's not a problem for Jews. But when you start to say that the words themselves have been corrupted, well, there's no evidence for that. It's what you're saying. We have Torah scrolls which are older than Islam itself, and they don't corrupt it. And whether you go to the Septuagint, whether you go to any of the older Dead Sea Scrolls, they all kind of confirm the same thing. And they show that actually it's highly unlikely that at the time of Muhammad it's almost impossible that at the time of Muhammad there was somehow a different sort of Torah which the Muslims somehow had, and then they lost it, and then it was completely forgotten. It's nonsense.
I mean, it is nonsense, because the whole logic depends upon, particularly from the New Testament perspective, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but Christians were copying and recopying the New Testament rapidly. It's what scholars call the tenacity of the text. So, Christians were meeting someone with a text and they were copying it down, and then they were taking it back home, and then other Christians would see that they've got a copy of the text and they would copy it, and then they would take it somewhere else. And everyone was just copying, and there was no central control. Which explains why there are so many variants between the texts, which there most certainly are. But for someone to corrupt that text to such a degree that the original Islamic message is lost, and then the text that we have it as it is today, which is actually more uniform than different, requires that someone would be able to take control of every single manuscript that this subversive, persecuted community made, and then rewrite it very early. This is all very early. And then impose a new doctrine onto this first community. And they had to do that incredibly quickly. And there's just no historical evidence for that claim whatsoever. So from my point of view, and I'm only speaking for myself, the Quran is making claims, and Muslims are making claims that are counterfactual to the evidence. And if the Quran is making claims that are counterfactual and Muslims are making claims that are counterfactual, either one or both is wrong. If the one is wrong and the other is right, then there needs to be some kind of reformation in the understanding of Islam. If the other is wrong and the further is right, you can't. If the Quran is wrong, then the Muslim scholars also have to be wrong. But if the Quran is wrong, then it's not from Allah. I'll leave it to you to decide. We're going to reenact the handshake because JC didn't get it on the first time. So there you go. There's a handshake. Thank you very much.
Well, did you get it as well?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. God bless you.